All right, everyone. This is the November forecast. We have been out of eclipse season. We have really processed a lot of the things that have happened over the last few years with October around identity, around relationships. And November is bringing to light a lot of important themes that have come up this year, which I'm super excited to be diving into today. So, like always, we have a grounding meditation, the monthly forecast, and an opportunity to reflect. And a big welcome to new members that have joined this month. Okay, let's get started with a grounding meditation. So, wherever you are, root down through your sit bones, through your feet. Begin to roll your shoulders back a few times, then forward. Then one more time up and down the back. Press the shoulder blades together, creating some opening in the heart center. Notice how you are feeling today. Bring awareness to any thoughts, any feelings, any sensations in the body. Allow your entire body to relax and release any mental tension that might be present. We'll do 3 cleansing breaths as you empty the breath out. Take a deep breath in through the nose and an audible exhale out through the mouth. Take a deep breath in through the nose and an audible exhale out through the mouth. And one more deep breath in through the nose, hold it at the top. Can you sip in a little bit more air? And let it go out through the mouth. Seal the lips, start to breathe it in and out through the nose, and feel the breath move through the back of the throat, down the length of the spine, and into the belly. I invite you to set an intention for our session today. Allow it to organically come into your consciousness. My invitation for you is to be open, curious, and most importantly, to have fun, knowing that the insights I share with you today and the insights you yourself download are exactly what you need to hear. Empty the breath out. Take a deep breath in through the nose and an audible exhale out through the mouth. And as you're ready, gently open your eyes, coming back to the present moment and the present space. All right, welcome back. Let's dive into the November forecast. So we're moving into, well, we've been in Scorpio season, and then we'll move into Sagittarius season. We have an important transit coming up on the 4th. Mars in Sagittarius opposes Uranus retrograde in Gemini. We have a full moon in Taurus that's also coming up. Uranus moving back into Taurus for a little while. Mercury retrograde in Sagittarius and Scorpio from the 9th to the 29th. It is a little bit shorter this time, this Mercury retrograde, which I'm sure we're all going to be happy about. There is a new moon in Scorpio towards the end of the month on the 19th. Then we have a Mercury cazimi in Scorpio on the 20th. All right, so with the season of Scorpio and Sagittarius, there is a big theme of November of really allowing yourself to understand that you are worthy and that you embrace the truth. These are our big themes this month because of the moon cycles as well, the new moon and the full moon. And especially during the season, the month of November, I find that we tend to think a lot about our money mindset, our finances, and of course, we are reflecting on what have we achieved this year. The holiday season is busy with like social commitments, but also financial as well. And so there is a lot of thinking around finances, around worth, around achievement, and with the element of Scorpio season, and we have a new moon in Scorpio at the end of the month, there really is the embracing of the truth. And this has been a big theme of this year as well, because it is the just like a very important year to really embrace and to like recognize all that has been happening underneath the surface that has been like coming up. And so I invite you to really notice throughout this month what uncomfortable truths are coming up and allowing yourself to be open to what these truths um, are available to allow you to become like a higher version of yourself, the next version of yourself. And this is very much so in line with the themes of the year of the snake. It's all about truth, it's about intuition, and it's about really tapping into imagination and healing as well. Okay, so with Scorpio season, been talking a lot about the truth and recognizing the truth and also understanding your money mindset as well. Scorpio and Taurus, they're the two signs that are most closely related to money and finances. And Scorpio is a sign that is oftentimes misunderstood and they get a lot of haters. So if you have Scorpio in your sun, your moon, your rising, it is not uncommon for you to feel like, let's say, excluded or people picking on you, or you just feeling a little bit like of an outsider, and there's like jealousy towards you as well. And once you're able to recognize these things, you can start to like wield your power because Scorpios are very powerful and very magnetic, and you can use it to kind of instead of getting unwanted attention, to kind of push back and to really allow yourself to magnetize a lot more. They are very powerful manifestors. And with Scorpio season, there is the desire to really connect with intuition as well. So you may find yourself having heightened intuition during that time. And if you are a Scorpio, definitely that is activated for you. And then towards the end of the month, we're moving into Sagittarius season that is very expansive. It has a bit of a duality in terms of it is comedic, it is like the life of the party, but also very serious, very philosophical. It is one that is very concerned about, what's happening strategically, what's happening on a global stage. International travel is a big theme of Sagittarius too. It's also one of the signs related to communication and expression, the other one being Gemini. And so during this time, you may find yourself wanting to invest or be curious about kind of deepening your expertise and your understanding about a specific area, whether it's professionally related or personally. And so, if you grab your handy dandy career astrology report, whether it's free or expanded, I want you to take a look at where Scorpio shows up in your chart and where Sagittarius shows up. So if you've been following the forecast the last few months, if you've been a member for a little while, you'll notice that we're just kind of going around the circle, just moving from house to house. And so now for this example chart, we are in the eighth house, we're in the ninth house, and the 10th house. So you want to look for this for the signs of Scorpio and Sagittarius. And also take note of any planets that are in these signs as well. And if you go into the school like classroom, there's some astrology 101 resources around what the signs mean as well as the planets. And you can find in houses, you can find some more information. Let's say you have Mercury in Scorpio. That means like during this time that there's a stronger focus on communication. And at the end of the month with the new moon in Scorpio, you'll have the opportunity to reassess and to reevaluate, set some new intentions around how you communicate to others and yourself. So we're going to look at all the houses here. So let's say you have Scorpio in your sixth house. That means like you're really focused on like your daily rituals and routines, also related to like your work environment as well. You want to think about when it is like Scorpio season or Sagittarius season. This is like where like the sun is shining on your house. So there's a lot of amplification of energy. There's like a focus too of you're just thinking more about these things. And it's kind of like the monthly season that you're in. Let's say you have Scorpio in the second house. That means that you're focused on income and work and resources and self-worth and worthiness. So it is very normal for you to have more than one sign in a house, especially because my chart is generated using the Placidus system. There are many different schools and systems of astrology. I really like Placidus, but let's say you have an app from the Pattern or Chani or CoStar. They are using something that only has they're using equal or whole, so they only have one sign per house. But I like the complexity of having more than just one. So you'll probably see that you have more than one sign. And like as an example, if it's just like a little bit here, like looking at the 12th house, it's got a little bit of Capricorn, but mostly Aquarius, like tiny bit of like Pisces, but if it's like percentage wise, like this is about like 90% Aquarius. So I would still say like, okay, that most of this energy is going to be Aquarius energy. So that's something to kind of like keep in mind as well. So just taking a note of kind of where the sun is shining on your life for Scorpio season and Sagittarius season. And you can come back later and do some journaling of like, okay, maybe this is some um, like opportunity for me to think about, okay, maybe I should like revamp things related to the home if it's like the fourth house, and if it's the fifth house, like kind of taking on a creative like hobby, or dating, or doing something like with your kids or with your pets. So it's a really nice way for you to understand like, okay, where should my attention go? Where's some extra energy that the universe is giving me, that the astrological forecast says that I have. Okay, so to this month, the other transits is in the beginning because we have this like Mars opposing Uranus retrograde in Gemini on the 4th. So November 4th is also a lot of special elections in the United States. And the reason why I know there are some of you who are outside of the United States in this membership, but it is still really important to note because Mars is in Sagittarius, so there's an international element to it. So whatever is happening in the United States, and also you can kind of extrapolate what I'll share about what's happening in the US to other countries as well. There's going to be like a global effect to it. And this is also in your calendar as well. So you can take a look and see some like notes when you kind of refer back to it, looking at that calendar event. So Mars is a planet of like action, and Uranus is a planet of like innovation, but also disruption. And so, with these two planets opposing each other, an opposition is there's a bit of like a conflict, a challenge point. And Mars in Sagittarius is very focused on philosophy, things related to, international parties. It's about expression, it's about communication. Uranus is a planet very focused on technologies as well. And earlier this year, I spoke about the transit Uranus and Gemini is for about 7 years. We're kind of going in and out because of this like retrograde, and it'll finally go into Gemini fully next year in 2026. But with Uranus in Gemini, especially in a retrograde, Uranus in Gemini suggests that over the next like 7 years, we're going to see extreme transformation, innovation, and disruption related to how we connect to one another, like local community wise, also about social media, about telecoms, technology. Gemini is a sign really associated with communication and expression. So my predictions around this really center upon changing to PR, advertising, media, changing to how we connect locally in community, how we communicate with one another on social platforms. So certain social platforms will be out of favor, some of them will kind of like new ones will emerge. And there also is like an ennui, kind of like a distancing some people like really feel around how connected we are to our phones and just social media. And then there's also an element of telecoms, of changing of telecoms. I did hear that there is talks of, I'm not sure, so don't quote me on this. I didn't get a chance to Google this, but Apple talking to Starlink and having that as an option to be like a service provider, a telecom service provider, which would really be quite interesting as it enables people to be more free in the way that they communicate, especially if you travel around the world frequently. It can be really annoying to like, change SIMs and all of that, or to do like roaming. So there's some innovation around that coming up as well. The big elephant in the room is AI. There's going to be a lot of implementation into AI into everyday life. With a retrograde, this is some like thinking that we're doing around all things related to Gemini. So all things I spoke about, but local community, about telecoms, communication, and social media. And so I think that there probably is going to be some element of it could be like a data breach. I would suggest that you back up all of your electronics and stuff. And if you have a business that has like code or, just has a website, like um, to really make sure that everything is updated and safe, and be extra vigilant around like any potential scams that might happen, those text message scams that we all get. And then because it's happening on the 4th, I'm just very intrigued and interested to see if we're going to hear any news in the United States about like voting tampering, like something related like to that. Specifically, I know in California, I haven't like really read the news, what's happening around the country, but we do have something important that we are all voting on the 4th, which is like redistricting, which affects our representation in Congress and then represents like you know, whether like, Republicans are in power, Democrats are in power. So it has like very large scale like implications for us in the United States. And for those who are international, thinking about some of these themes and how they could apply to your home country and your home city in terms of how we're communicating, how we're engaging with the rest of the world as well. So expect some interesting news to come out of the 4th, whether it happens on the day of the 4th or in the following days, or even it could be, in the coming months as well, where they'll reflect back and like, this happened in like early November, but we like didn't really know about it until months later. Planetary shifts. So Uranus is going to move back into Taurus on the 7th for a little while before it stations in Gemini for like 7 years or so. And again, Uranus is a planet that deals with innovation and disruption. And Uranus is an outer planet, and an outer planet has more subtle effects on you as an individual. It's a longer transit. So, when we talk about like the moon, it's changing literally like every few days. And so that affects us and our moods like a lot more. But Uranus is a planet that, doesn't change as often as like the moon and other planets. And so you'll feel kind of like a bit of a subtle shift in terms of we'll go back to what we've been kind of familiar with over like the last few years or so. And so, as we move into a Uranus retrograde in Taurus, there is a reflection and rethinking around all things related to Taurus. This is about food and beverage. This is about supply chain. This is about housing and real estate. You can extend that out to like interest rates. This is all things related to home, around like to the material world, material possessions. It is quite interesting because over the last few years, I think there has been a bit of like pushback around like luxury. What is luxury? Like, what are like, what does it mean to be a luxury brand? And Taurus is a sign that is associated with luxury as well. And thrifting has really kind of increased over the last like few years, not only from like an economic need, but also like very trendy as well. So as a collective, we have been thinking about how we can make things related to the themes of Taurus better and what needs to be disrupted. And again, that is like food and beverage, that's agriculture, that's restaurants, that's um, like things related to the home, real estate, how we live together as well. And I do believe that, a lot of the things that we've been kind of dealing with Uranus and Taurus, the kind of like it's like a bell curve of adoption too, in terms of like all these things are happening, and over the coming years, even though Uranus is going to move into Gemini, I think that we're going to be exploring more of these things because what we've seen over the last few years is like housing prices like are just increasing like it feels like exponentially, not only in the United States, but around the world. That's also increasing costs, related to like your grocery bill. And so these are things that, it's coming to a head. It's like very untenable. So how are we going to change the way that we live and how we eat and how we, like do all of these different types of things? So I think it's interesting. But again, Uranus is an outer planet, so these shifts are more subtle, and you can think about it as a longer stretching transformation that we are exploring. And you can also look to see like where Taurus like shows up in your chart, and that is where some disruption is happening. So, um, like if we actually, I think I have it over here. So if you look at like where Taurus shows up, you can see here in this chart, it's showing up for mostly in the second house. We're looking for this sign here, the symbol. And that is where disruption is slowly kind of moving through your life. Okay, next up, Mercury. We are going to end the year with our last Mercury retrograde. Mercury is a planet of communication, expression, and learning, also kind of like your internal operating system. And Mercury retrograde really is an opportunity for you to reflect. It's a time to go inward. Traditionally speaking, it's not a good time to like start something new, but life goes on. I'm never about astrology controlling what you do, but kind of reflecting back to certain themes that you're already experiencing and noticing in your life. It is a tool for introspection, not like kind of like something that controls you. And Mercury retrograde is always a time for you to go inward. And in the signs of Sagittarius and Scorpio, we're going inward in terms of like how much we know, releasing imposter syndrome, understanding maybe the different ways we want to express. And if you are someone who teaches, like I'm someone who teaches, rethinking how you want to teach and share your teaching with others. And it will move through Scorpio as well. So then we're kind of thinking around what truths have we been ignoring? What do we need to recognize that needs to be changed in our lives? Kind of seeing like the uncomfortable truths, as well as connecting to our intuition. So these are some of the themes that are going to be coming up during Mercury retrograde. And Mercury retrograde is also a time when you just want to give yourself more space. Um, Between meetings, answering emails, kind of like double checking things if you're signing anything, also double, triple checking, just giving yourself more time, giving yourself more grace, giving other people the benefit of the doubt, especially when Mercury moves into Scorpio. Ooh, Mercury in Scorpio can be very scathing, can be very savage in the way that it delivers information. So you may find yourself a little bit more sharp-tongued during this time, or other people more sharp, kind of a little bit more. It's not the word and the way I want to describe it. It's not like very like a communication style that is conflict. Um, related, but more so it's just like kind of a little bit more direct and very truthful, and it can be hurtful. The truth can be hurtful, and just being aware of like how you communicate and seeing if you can soften it a little bit, and if what you're saying is actually one, should be said to this person, two, if it's the right thing to be said, and also how are you delivering it. So those are very important. With the Mercury Cazimi in Scorpio on the 20th, this isn't like a kind of like a day where things are very clear. So, this is a really great day for you to get clarity around, like, let's say, if you have your own business, to kind of write down some of the strategic things you want to accomplish throughout the rest of the year in 2026. This is also a great time for you to do some shadow work, deep healing, to also connect with your intuition, to get any like intuitive messages and downloads too. So, on the 20th is a wonderful time for you to be in nature, for you to do like a breathwork class, go to a yoga class, something that allows you to get back to your body. Which reminds me, I think I'll actually post something on here. We'll do some sort of exercise to allow you to kind of like really tap into your intuition. So that's what I will do for the 20th. I'll put that on the calendar and announce it in the like school kind of like what is that thing called? Just like where all the messages are. But Mercury Kazemi is going to be a really good time for you to send any like important contracts and messages out. Traditionally speaking, it is a very clear time where you can kind of communicate during Mercury retrograde when a lot of miscommunication and delays can happen. But again, life goes on. I actually have to do a bunch of travel during Mercury retrograde this year. So I'm just like, I'm setting the intention. It is all going to be well because you are in charge of your destiny. You are in control. Your energy determines a lot. And I believe that is also going to be a very important message, and lesson that we learned during this Mercury retrograde in Scorpio and this Mercury Kazemi in Scorpio, knowing that we are very powerful, and how we show up matters more than what we are showing up for. So the means is the end. I like to describe it as, you know, when you're making a new recipe and you're doing it in a rushed way, it can like get really, really botched. But if you're doing it in a calm, like manner, when you're taking your time, reading these carefully, a new recipe could turn out to be one of the like best things you've made all month or all year. It's really just how you do things. And this is a concept that has been very challenging for me to put into practice and to embody. I tend to kind of like have anxiety move through me quite often. I'm just like, oh, I just like want to know the answer. I want to get things done. And so I've really been training myself over the last few years to take my time through things and be more thoughtful and be more intentional, because how we live our day-to-day lives really determines our health. And I have realized with each passing year that when I am doing things because I'm stressed or anxious, it's like it could be a stressful situation. It could be something that can cause anxiety, whatever decision I need to make or conversation I need to have or something that I need to create. But being in that anxious energy is almost worse, right? So, how we address a situation, how we confront something is very important. So, you want to take a look at where Scorpio and Sagittarius shows up in your chart. So, here are the symbols, Scorpio and Sagittarius, and I have this coming up. Actually, I did not do that. So, here, this is where Scorpio is. This is where Sagittarius is. It's actually here. I have it here. Scorpio and Sagittarius. And this is going to be where you see a lot of like introspection happening. And during this time, these areas might feel a little bit slow. So this one's like healing. This one is related to kind of like maybe like travel and like learning and things related to the career. So we look at the houses. You can take a look at Mercury retrograde in Sagittarius and Scorpio is forcing you to take a closer look at these areas of your life and to slow down. Okay, let's talk about the moon cycle. So the moon represents your inner world. It's how you process your emotions. It's a part of you that not everybody sees. It also talks about energy levels. Full moons can feel very emotional, but when it's in an earth sign, it actually has a bit more of a practical feeling to it. So over the last like week or so, you may have been feeling like a lot of things are coming up related to money or related to stability and safety. Maybe things related to the home as well. It's wherever Taurus shows up in your chart. And so it's a kind of like a buildup of energy. But when the full moon is in an earth sign, it's like much more grounded. So you may be thinking in ways that are very practical, very action oriented of like, I need to, this is making a list of this, and this. You may also feel like there's things around your home, especially if you have Taurus in your sun, your moon, your rising. You may be wanting to kind of change things in your home. And very much so, the full moon is about a culmination, about manifestation, reflecting over the last 6 months and the growth that you have done in in the part of your birth chart that Taurus is in. If it's like your sun is in Taurus, it's about identity. If your moon is in Taurus, it's about processing your emotions, and being more in tune with your emotions. We go through this cycle like every single year. There's something that, that's a new moon moving through a full moon, allowing us to grow just like bit by bit in multiple areas of our lives. And let's see if there's, oh, and so on the full moon, you'll feel a lot better, and really recognize, I've really come like really far. I've done a lot for myself in probably like money mindset, like worthiness, and kind of just like feeling like a little bit more at ease in your own home as well. But those are collective insights. And when you go look at how Taurus shows up in your particular birth chart, you'll get even more insights around that. New moons are about planting new seeds, fresh starts, and new beginnings. And a new moon in Scorpio on the 19th gives you an opportunity to connect with your intuition even more and to kickstart another area of your healing, kind of meeting yourself, seeing your shadow self, the parts of you that you hide away that you're just like, we all have something that we're working on that we're just like, okay, like I'd rather just shelf this, table it. I don't like want to deal with it, but there's going to be something that emerges, that you feel like, okay, I would like to address, my conflict style, or I would like to address like my issues with like confidence or deep healing related to family. It could be like many different things that show up, but the theme you can kind of look to where Scorpio shows up in your chart to see, okay, what's going to be a potent new intention that I can set for this new moon in Scorpio, that I can allow it to kind of like unfold over the next 6 months. So, looking to see where Taurus and Scorpio shows up in your chart. For this person, we have Taurus in the second house, a little bit of the third house, and you're going to see that it's really going to affect mostly like the second house. If you want to get even more particular, you can look at the degree and the minute that the full moon in Taurus will be in, and kind of exactly where it comes up like in your chart, because we have like 30 degrees in each house. And if you do have questions about that, please pop it into the community and I will share some more insights around that, because we haven't really talked about degrees quite yet. And that is almost like a drill down and how specific we can get in the information. And then the new moon in Scorpio here, related to the eighth house and the ninth house for this person, can set new intentions related like to this area of their lives. So again, this is a different way of looking at it. You can kind of see it a little bit more clearly here. And looking at the houses can give you insights to what are you releasing, what are you manifesting with the full moon, and what new intentions and goals that you can set with the new moon. I know it's a lot of information, so especially those listening to the replay, or if you're watching the replay after the live, feel free to pause and kind of rewind, because it is a lot of information. And of course, ask your questions in the community, and I'm happy to answer. Okay, finally, we have some journaling exercises. What is my relationship like with money? From a scale of like 1 to 10, what is your worthiness score? So, how worthy do you feel when it comes to asking for what you want and what you need? Maybe it's a new job, maybe it's a promotion, maybe it's starting a business, maybe it's something related to your personal life, maybe it's about love, about receiving help. Like, do you feel like worthy? And you might be drawn to a specific area of your life just intuitively, of just like, huh, or just a general like worthiness score. Like, do you feel worthy? Like it also kind of also relates to self-confidence too. And from like your ranking, you can also write a list of like, how can I allow myself to feel more worthy from the inside out, regardless of external sources, what people say and how much money I make and accolades and recognition I get. Because true worthiness and stability, self-worth comes from within. And a little challenging, but very worthwhile to kind of have that come from the inside out. What truths have you been ignoring? And how can you connect with your intuition? I really feel like Scorpio season is very much so kind of like spooky season and a time when we can really kind of get important downloads and information and try to understand how intuition moves through your body. Maybe, you feel it in a certain area. Maybe you can like just hear it, feel it. Some people taste it, some people smell it, some people know it. It is related to your senses, and it could be a combination of them as well. And also, sometimes people, especially if you have Gemini or Sagittarius showing up in your birth chart, journaling is a great way to kind of get those intuitive insights to come through, even kind of talking and leaving voice messages as well. All right, my friends, that is all I have for you today. For those watching the replay, let me know what questions you have. I'm going to put up a session for the 20th. It's going to be a recorded session that will kind of go live at that time so you can feel like it is a live session because I know that it does make a difference of how you show up. So I'm going to schedule that for later in the evening so that hopefully some of you can make it quote unquote to the live time. And I will be traveling a bunch this month, just FYI, but I will be checking school. And if there is a question that, for some reason I miss on school, you haven't heard back in like a couple days, I usually am pretty fast, like 24, like 36 hours or so. Just feel free to shoot me an email. And I'm wishing you a wonderful November and have some fun things planned for December. I can't wait to share and going to try to find a time where we can like more of us can meet online virtually live. All right, have a wonderful day, evening, weekend, week ahead whenever you're listening to this monthly forecast, and I will see you soon.